I'm tired of being mad. Because when I graced the grounds of college, I didn't have this opportunity to speak my mind because I was so forced in the idea of my parents telling me to shut up. Just learn, be quiet. And I was rebellious, like I'm being rebellious now. I refuse to be fucking quiet.
Black students and alumni from MSU Texas joined worldwide racial justice protests by making their experiences with racism on campus known through the hashtag #BlackAtMSU. The hashtag began with a few responses and quickly became a trend as more students felt compelled to share their experiences. Former director of MSU Texas Mosaic Cross Cultural Center, Dr. Green, says the issues these students are voicing are rooted in history and require true systemic change for progress to be possible.
There's a legacy, right, of Black students making their voices heard on PWIs as far back as 1968, right, when you had the Black student movement happening on college campuses, right? And until institutions that have their roots in whiteness and white supremacy and privilege and classism and all of those things, I think until institutions, completely overhaul what they do and who they are, that's always going to be an issue. I don't know how you really say that you want to educate and serve all people if you're not concerned about how you're doing that in an equitable and inclusive way.
George Floyd's death sparked conversations and ignited protests, not just at MSU but worldwide, creating real opportunities for organizations and institutions to talk about racial inequalities. The hashtag protest at MSU is a part of the larger dialogue on racial justice taking place on this global level. People have been protesting police violence and voicing their frustrations with the unjust killings of Black men and women and the continued failures of systemic issues in the justice system. President of NAACP, Monique Fields, says these racial issues at MSU will only change if they are willing to take a new approach.
Our country is rooted in racism. And so until the whole entire system is reshuffled, we're never going to not have racial injustices. And as far as here at MSU, I think, like I said before, I think they're going to do the best that they know how to do. It's just a matter of figuring out new ways of doing that and getting out of that comfort zone of what's been working, but actually listening and trying to find things that will work for the future.
Tired of their voices being suppressed and overlooked, Black students at MSU recognize that social media will provide a voice to the voiceless. More than 100 students responded to the Black at MSU hashtag, leaving no room for silence. Coordinator of the Men of Color Alliance, Zion Jones, says the hashtag brought the Black community closer together.
It had a really good impact, really positive impact on the Black community as well as Black students, because we know that the city and the school have its own culture, and to know that we've all experienced things on our own, but we can come together and have that kind of camaraderie of speaking on trauma support, having some trauma support. I think it really brought our community together.
Like most predominantly white institutions, MSU has a history of racism that has impacted generations of students. The Black at MSU hashtag represents how cyclical these experiences are and how much pain the Black community has endured. MSU alumna and president of the Black Student Union, Jamila Kanguja, says she wants a better MSU for future students.
I would really like for what those who came before me and what myself has experienced, I would want those people that come after me to have what we never had. I want things such as racism, hate crimes to be addressed. I want my alma mater to be an anti-racist campus. I want them to be an anti-hate campus. I understand the freedom of speech, but when things hurt people, I don't think that that's good.
After the volume of responses from the hashtag, the Black Student Coalition emphasized a demand for change. These demands included more minority faculty and staff, the relocation of the Mosaic Cross-Cultural Center to the Clark Student Center, a new assistant director for the Mosaic Cross-Cultural Center, and a mandatory and extensive training for faculty, staff, and MSU students. Since then, MSU has made it a priority to meet some of these demands. Vice President of Student Affairs Keith Lamb says the hashtag and demands from the Black Student Coalition added depth to what the administration knew, and that they are focused on meeting every demand.
Under President Shipley's leadership, a task force has been created that has students, staff, faculty, and regents on there. Dr. Shipley, myself, and Cammie Dean serve as ex officio members of the task force, but that task force's aim is really at creating policies, procedures, things that go into the university's strategic plan that create sustainable, ongoing change at Midwestern, recognizing that this is a continual process. And it really aims to work on institutional racism that may exist here and to eradicate that.
Although MSU has made some strides toward change, some fear that MSU will become complacent in their actions. Assistant Director of the Mosaic Cross-Cultural Center, Cammie Dean, says change for MSU is a continuous process that will require dedication from all levels.
What I think is important, more than just responding to the initial 5 demands of the student group, but to consider the long-term sustainability of the changes that we need to make. So not just checking off a few boxes, but also considering what else we might need to do. And in that way, I think that we're moving forward. Change is never easy. I think it was Frederick Douglass who said, without struggle, there is no progress. And that's the reality. So there's work to do. When we talk about diversity, diversity is not a destination, it's a journey. It's a work. And I need for us as a university to acknowledge we're work in progress, which always means that we're going to have to keep looking, keep trying, finding ways to be better for our students.
Change is not a moment, it's a continuous process. And Black students at MSU are adamant about being the generation that changes the racial climate of MSU. Through rallies, unity walks, and open discussions, the Black student population hopes to create a unified university that is intolerant of hate, racism, and exclusion. For MNG Media, I'm Kirstia Sheffield.